I think that people who argue about what phone they have are stupid. And there's people that will be like saying, "Oh, Apple is so great." So, well, actually, Apple fans don't usually do that. They usually just shit on Android. Then Android fans will shit on Apple. I hate them both. Right? I'm gonna explain right here, right now, why I hate both of them. Right? Well, I don't hate the phones, right? But the people who like the phones, I hate them. Starting with Android fans. And I have, you might say, "Oh, well, you have an iPhone, you can't talk." Well, guess what? I used to own an Android, and I have considered multiple times switching to an Android from my iPhone. Not because I don't like the iPhone, because sometimes Android phones have the feature that I want. There is one feature I value in a phone, right? One feature, and that's the phone being small. I don't like the fact that phones have gotten, to the size of, small tablets nowadays. I don't want a small tablet. I want a small, portable device that I can easily slip into my pocket. I want something, smaller. I don't want phones to keep getting bigger. I want them to start getting smaller, more compact. I like that. That's why I've got currently the iPhone, the what I'm recording on as well right now, is the iPhone 13 mini. I like this phone because it's small. That's why I got it. That's why I changed to Apple. Because Android wasn't making any small phones anymore. So I decided, well, might as well change to Apple, see what they've got to offer. I'm not gonna lie. Android and iOS, I'm gonna say a controversial opinion. They're the fucking same. If you think that Android or Apple is better than the other one in terms of their OS, you're wrong. You're stupid. You're dumb. They are the same. They are the literal goddamn same. All right. What do you do on your phone, right? Well, what are the major things someone will do on their phone, right? Call people, message people, take pictures, watch videos, maybe play some games, and change their wallpaper. That is, the only things you will do with your phone. I guess search on, the internet, right? And maybe use maps. So there, right? Okay. Both phones can do this, Apple or Android. If you have a Samsung or an iPhone, a Nokia or an iPhone. Apple only makes iPhone, but still, you get my point, right? It doesn't matter if you're on Android or if you're on Apple, it is the exact same experience. It's literally the same. You can make calls on both of them, and that works perfectly fine. Messaging on both of them works perfectly fine. You can message someone on an iPhone or on an Android. You can message someone who has an iPhone from an iPhone. You can message someone on an Android to someone who has an iPhone. They are completely compatible with each other. I don't get why people care. People who use maps, right? Objectively, I'm not gonna lie, I don't get people complaining about Apple Maps. I just don't see it. I also don't get people who complain about Google Maps. They are, they both don't function half the time. I have never found a mapping app that actually functions 100% of the time. If my Google Maps doesn't work, I will use Apple Maps. If Apple Maps refuses to work, I'll use Google Maps. And if neither of them work, well, I'm kind of fucked. But still, you get my point, right? They're basically the same. Watching YouTube. It is literally the exact same experience. The only difference is how big your phone screen might be and maybe the quality of the audio. But that isn't an Android or iOS thing. That's just what phone you have. If you've got a really good iPhone, you're objectively going to have a really good video viewing experience. The audio is going to be really good. If you've got a really good Android, really expensive Android, you're going to have a really good audio and video viewing experience. It doesn't matter which one you've got. You'll have a good experience either way. So it doesn't matter. Games. Let's be honest. What games are you playing on your phone, right? Like Angry Birds? Clash Royale? Clash of Clans? Do many people even play Clash of Clans anymore? Mario Kart Tour? Are those the games you're playing? You can get those on both. You can get those on Android and on iOS. Same with Minecraft. Same with... I think Fortnite's returned to iOS now. I don't actually know. Probably the same with Fortnite. Or at the very least, it used to be the same with Fortnite. You can get them on both platforms. So why do you care? And also, people who say, oh, this one is just simpler to learn and simpler to use, or this one is simpler to learn and makes more sense. No, it isn't. Both of them are simple. Using iOS is simple and easy to use. Same with Android. They are the exact same. It doesn't matter what OS you're using. They are all simple and easy to use. Anyone can figure them out. Neither of them are better than the other. Now, there is really only one reason you should want to choose one phone over another phone, right? And it's the physical hardware of the phone. Software on phones has gotten to such a point that you shouldn't care what phone you have, right? And if you care about customizability, be honest with yourself. No, you don't. The most customizability you care about is changing your wallpaper and your ringtone. The only one of those two, those are the only two customizability things you probably care about on your phone. Now, I will admit, you can't change your ringtone on iPhone. So that is annoying. So I'll give Android that. But at the same time, it is literally just the ringtone. Is that really going to be the deal breaker for you not to get an iPhone or for you to get an Android? That shouldn't be your deal breaker. Your deal breaker should be, how large is the phone? Can it do the things I want it to? For example, like changing your ringtone shouldn't be the one thing you want your phone to be able to do. You should be like, oh, it can take really good pictures, or oh, it can play this game really well. I don't know why people keep talking about gaming phones nowadays. Who actually plays games on their phone that are like high performance games? I don't get it. Or like, oh, I want to YouTube to open up a little bit faster. I don't fucking know. This is my point. Phones are so similar nowadays. It doesn't matter whether you have an Android or whether you have an iPhone. And one of the only arguments that Android fans had against iPhones was that, oh, Apple is expensive. I don't want to buy Apple. I don't want to, you got to put a down payment on an iPhone. If you're iPhone fans, they're completely broke because they've spent all their money on their phones. This is the price of the current Samsung. This is the price of the current Oppo. And this is the price of the current Google Pixel. And this is the price of the current iPhone. Notice how the current iPhone is either the same, cheaper, or only slightly more expensive. All of them are about the same price. Why are you complaining about price? You're having to pay the same amount of money. And I get that there's some people that are like, oh, well, Android is still cheaper. And I will say, Android, for the most part, is generally cheaper. You'll generally more likely to find a cheaper Android. It's probably not going to be a very good phone, but at the same time, it doesn't matter that much because it will still be able to do the basic features of a smartphone, which is like, again, watch YouTube, call and message people, and browse the internet. That's like the main features of a modern smartphone. And, any modern smartphone can do that. You can get a smartphone from 2010, and it can probably do all those things. It won't necessarily do them very well, but it can definitely do them. But it's not just Android fans. I also hate Apple fans as well. Now, I used to own an Android, and Apple fans, right? People who own an iPhone will see a guy with an Android, and then will immediately just assume you're broke. Dude, they cost the same amount of money. They are literally the same. As I said before, Androids are just as expensive as iPhones. And also, why are you trying to use that as a flex? Why are you trying to use that as a flex? Oh, all phones are expensive now. That's not a good thing. A phone being expensive doesn't necessarily make it better, right? I just said, they're all the same price and stuff, right? But Apple fans, for some reason, right, will, instead of being like, well, your phone is also expensive, you fucking idiot, they will instead do this, right? They'll instead say, oh, you can't afford an iPhone, you're broke, you're poor. That's not a flex. That isn't a flex that you spent 2 billion, doubloons on your new phone when you could have just gotten a cheaper option and got the exact same experience. Literally identical. like, especially on the most modern phones, you can get the iPhone 16 Pro right now that's out, or the iPhone 16, and you'll have literally an identical experience, not just between the 16 and the 16 Pro, but an identical experience between the 15, the 15 Pro, the 16, and the 16 Pro. I am telling you right now, they are almost identical to each other. The average person, 99% of the people who buy a phone will not be able to tell the difference between any of those four phones, apart from the fact that the Pros are slightly larger. That is literally the only difference the average person will ever be able to distinguish between them. Alright? All you are doing is saying that you have wasted money when you could have spent that money on literally anything else. You could have donated that money to charity. You could have spent it on buying a backup phone. You could have saved up that money and then put a down payment on a house. You could have bought, like, you could have paid Nintendo for Switch 2 secrets. I think I'm going to cut that one out of the video. Either way, my main point here, stop complaining about the other side, right? Android fans, you have no right to think you're better than Apple fans and people who own iPhones just because, oh, iPhone expensive. Oh, Android do it first. Who fucking cares? Who cares that your Android can do this and this and this when 99.99% of the population aren't going to use any of those features? And I'm willing to bet you yourself don't even use those features, and you're just saying that just because you can. It's literally just because you can. And Apple fans, paying for an overpriced phone is not a flex. It just proves that you're retarded.